Earlier this year, audiences both in person and virtual bore witness to two incredible events, the Muppet Script and the Scripted Muppet Caper, star-studded live readings of the Muppet movie and the Great Muppet Caper scripts. On Friday, October 24th, they'll be doing it again with the Muppets Take Scripthattan, this time in New York City. To celebrate this event and to encourage you to buy tickets to the live stream, we'll be chatting with some of the stars of the show in this special podcast miniseries brought to you by toughpigs.com. I'm your host, Joe Hennis. Joining me is the producer and director of the show and an old friend of Tough Pigs. It's Matt Wilkie. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Joe. Hello, everyone. So happy to be back.
Glad to have you here. And our first guest you may have seen on The Tick, heard on the Blank Check podcast, and seen live in the George Lucas talk show. A huge Muppet fan in his own right. It is Griffin Newman. Hey, Griff.
Hello, Joe. You forgot my major credit, which is previous guest of the Tough Pigs podcast.
You have been on this podcast. It was when we were like that very brief moment where we did video podcasts live for in lockdown.
I was going to say, my memory was it was like week 3 of lockdown.
It was when we still thought that it was just going to be a few weeks. And I believe that we started by saying, we'll do these until we can all go back to normal.
Right. In May?
Yeah, we gave up pretty quickly on that one.
Yeah, that was a cabin fever, you called it, right?
Yes, thank you, Matt. Yes, they were
I love the title. I thought that was really fun. Yeah.
Thank you. That is on our YouTube page if you want to go find that. But before we talk about that, let's talk about our second guest, who you have seen on Stand Against Evil, the Jim Henson Company series Neil's Puppet Dreams, and as the titular Legend of Korra, it's Janet Varney. Hi, Janet.
Hello. You forgot my most important credit. First-time guest on your podcast.
So
Tough Pigs.
Important. Thank you. Thank you for being here on this podcast. I'm such a fan of all of you. And I hope that you're fans of the Muppets, because that's what we're going to talk about for the next hour.
Never heard of them.
All right. So there's this guy named Frank Oz. Let's start there. No, we don't have time for this. Okay. So
you started with Frank Oz.
Choice.
Should have gone deeper. Should have gone deeper than Frank. So
It starts in a cave. The first caveman sits around a fire.
Right.
He holds his hand up and a shadow's created.
Oh, I love where we're going with this. But actually, if we don't want to go back that far, let's go back first to the Muppet movie script reading that you guys did. And so, Griff, you played Max, and Janet, you were Janice. Is that right?
That's right. And I remember I did not know who was playing whom, except for just a couple that I had heard about. And when I saw Griff, and I was like, this is, there's like, we couldn't have done, there would just have not been a Max if Griffin hadn't been available. It was such great casting. It was
I felt
such
the
great
same
casting.
way seeing you, and I will say this is like ultimate compliment to Matt, that everyone I saw there was like, oh, obviously, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm New York based. I was already gonna be in LA when that first one was happening, and Matt texted me, and I immediately was like, well, I'd want to play Max, and he was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna ask you.
Yes.
And I think some Muppet fans of my stature would be disappointed to not get to play one of the Muppets. But to me, I was like, this is destiny. I can't fight this. I'm ready to embody this fully.
I love that character. That character is so important too, because that's a character that teaches kids about redemption. Not to just go deep right away, but also so sorry in advance, Joe, but you have at least 2 podcast hosts on this podcast, so I think we all know that what's going to happen is
can I just take a break? Can I just sit back?
Take over for a moment? Yeah. I'm so sorry. No, but I think I have so much love for that character, and I really do feel like he was such an instrumental part of me kind of understanding storytelling and understanding the idea of like feeling bad that you're on the wrong side of something and having the opportunity to right that wrong.
I agree with you, Janet. And I also think Charles Durning is so incredible in that movie. And part of what's so incredible is that he is funny, but he is legitimately fairly upsetting. Yeah. And as a child, it was like even more so than kind of cartoonish Disney villains. he felt menacing in a very human way.
100%.
That he's just like this monster of late stage capitalism and greed and everything.
Totally.
But he's able to charm and he's able to small talk, whatever. And I think you're right that like it would be too upsetting for a child to watch that film if you weren't also able to track Max's moral awakening. And so I genuinely was like, this is a great part to play. I'm like excited to dig into this. But I was very, I tried to be very detail oriented in putting the outfit together because I was like, well, it's not like Swedish Chef where you have these clear ear markers. And I asked Matt to help me with the hat and a tie. And I put it on, and then like you saw me and we're like, oh my God, you're Max.
Yeah.
It was great to recognize that almost everyone else at the reading was so fanatical about the Muppet movie that they could identify I was Max based on what to other people would have just looked like street clothes.
Right.
To be fair, though, you are like an Austin Pendleton type.
100%.
Yes.
You are giving Austin Pendleton.
My friends have made that joke for years of like, if they made the Muppet movie tomorrow, you would read for that, right? Like that is your typecasting.
There was a moment where like I was posting stuff like the links on Reddit to make sure that people knew about the show and spreading the word. And it was before like the cast list was out, but it wasn't who's playing who. And so many people were immediately like, well, obviously Griffin's playing Max. Like everybody was like immediately. That was the only one there was no discussion over. It was like, who's Bobby playing? Who's Paul playing? It's like, no, Griffin's playing Max, and everybody else will figure out later.
But the great thing was like I see Janet backstage. Janet's in the Janice get up. She's transforming. I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. And I know that Janet can act and sing and do voices with the best of them. And then yet the moment the curtain comes up, everyone's on stage. The audience is getting the overload of seeing, oh my God, he's him, she's her, this is who everyone is. And yet every time someone got up to the mic for the first time and started doing the voice, there was such a pop of excitement from the audience of like, they're nailing it.
Yeah.
And I think what's fascinating is that like Matt put together a group of people where some people are doing a really good impression. Some people are doing their own personal interpretation, and some people are almost doing like a postmodern comedic angle on it. And yet all of them were able to harmonize because you could tell the common thread was everyone knows and cares about this deeply. They're approaching it from different angles, but no one is like, what is this?
Totally.
Who is this character? Yeah.
So, well, first of all, Griff, if you weren't going to play Max in that movie, or if any of the Muppet movies, if you were going to play a Muppet, which one do you think you would have read for?
I think Scooter's my answer. I think Scooter is the most.
Thank you.
Austin Pendleton of the Felt characters. Yeah. I think I could pull off a Rizzo, but it's not my typecasting. If someone else dropped out, I think I could do it. I could amp up my New York native.
Yeah, well, and your Watto, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is
the Watto's Rizzo-y.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
I'm a small man. I could visually work as Rizzo next to other performers. Yeah,
that's fair. You're right.
I like wearing hats. Right.
Yeah. Big fan of cheese. Yeah.
Yeah.
Janet, did you choose the Janice role, or did Matt ask you? Like, I think
no, Matt asked me. I just wrote him and said, hey, I hear you're doing this. Will you please find something for me to do?
Were you hoping he was going to say Janice, or had you not even considered that when you sent the email?
No. The only thing I think I said to him was because I just assumed that everything was done already because I wasn't sure when I was finding out about it. And so I said, if the Steve Martin character is still available, I would like to do that.
Oh, that's a good one. Who did play the Steve Martin character?
We had Katie Maravich, and
yes, Katie do it.
And speaking of like postmodern, she went nuts with it.
Yeah,
you have to. You have to.
You do. You really do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Griffin and Janet. See, I can mix up the.
Is that why you did it?
Is that why you cast
her? Just I was just misspeaking when I spoke to you. No, it was the kind of thing where like I had already kind of started reaching out to the Thrilling Adventure Hour folks who I'm huge fans of. I've been an adventure coutier for years. And when I got a little email from little Janet Varney, as they call her, I was so excited. And it was immediately like, no, that's Janice. Like there's so many people that I like as soon as I spoke to them or in reaching out to them, I was like, this is like perfect casting in a way. And my wife and I, we love doing like the casting game where we're like watching something and we're like, oh, what would they be in? And so often it does come to Muppets because that's just how my brain works. And so we go back and forth where it's like if we're casting a show where we're replacing them with Muppets or vice versa. Anyway,
Yep, fun game.
This is a completely normal thing to most of us, by the way.
Yeah.
absolutely.
This is what we do.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the casting of it all is, you know, as a producer, you really want to fine tune things, but that was honestly the easiest thing because I just had so many, like through Thrilling Adventure Hour, through Dropout, through different podcasts that I listened to, I had in my mind already everyone who would be great in one of these Muppet roles. And luckily, I mean, like 99% of my first asks were yeses. And so it just became this beautiful thing that I'm like, I say it's hard to replicate, but we are doing more of them. So hopefully it's not that hard to replicate as we keep going.
I will also, not to pump you up, Matt, but I don't know how much of this was just picking the right people creatively or if this was strategic on your part. But as you said, you pulled from a lot of like overlapping circles of Thrilling Adventure Hour and kind of Comedy Bang Bang adjacent stuff and Dropout stuff and everything. Where like there were 40 people on stage. It felt like I didn't know everybody, but I knew enough people, and anyone I didn't know, I was like 1 degree away from. Where it felt like for a thing like this, where it's not like you have a lot of time to rehearse as a group, where everyone's getting there an hour before. Anyone who you hadn't performed with before, it was like, well, this is like a cousin 1 degree away.
Uh-huh.
It was such a group that could gel so quickly together because we all come from, if not the same background, parallel backgrounds, you know, like had all these ties to each other. And you felt this real communal, like Janet gets up and says the first for Shirley, and everyone, like, we're applauding on stage. We're feeling exciting. I'm like, she's nailing it too, you know?
Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing.
Speaking of Janice's lines, so she doesn't speak very much in these movies. So like, does it feel like a bit of a, I don't know, like a missed opportunity that you get to like come up on stage, say one thing, and then you're sitting down for the next 45 minutes?
Oh, for sure not, because I just said for sure. God damn it. Why are these things getting teed up so cleanly that I'm not noticing that is no, I mean, that's just not, again, like I wanted to be a part of the show, even if I said literally one sentence and then just sat on stage enjoying everything that was happening for the rest of the time. Honestly, like, it would be maybe hard if Janice, I mean, she does have stuff to do in like all the subsequent movies as well. And it was so, it's such a benefit that she's part of the band because I love singing and I love music and I love the Electric Mayhem. But also as Matt knows and as he has fondly pointed out, since then, I really tried not to open my eyes at all because the Janice puppet does not have open eyes, and so she had to do more. That might have been a problem because it was already challenging to try to sell that with the limited amount that she does do.
You also get to do all the singing too. Like you have this balance of like,
absolutely
so fun.
There's obviously the tier of like the big 5 A-list Muppets who are gonna have more story weight to cover in these types of things, but so many of, I feel like, the actual most beloved Muppet characters are these kind of like pinch hitter, Janice comes in and just kills one line, you know?
Yeah.
And so it really did feel like it was like kind of it was funny. On stage, other people kept turning to me and saying like, is this in the actual movie? Like some people who are Muppet fans who don't rewatch the Muppet movie every single year were kind of like, I can't believe the writing is this good, that the jokes are this strong, but also that like every part gets to score, you know? And it's like, so, you know, and I love all the Muppet movies on a scale, you know, but there is a perfection to the Muppet movie in that like every single Muppet character scores in it, and also every human character scores.
Yes.
So no one's like, oh, I got stuck with the bad part. I got stuck dumping exposition, you know? Everyone has an emotional arc to play, or you're like killing saying myth 3 times or whatever, you know?
It's true. There's no fat to trim from these movies, especially these the first 4
truly.
here. But I don't know if Janice has any lines in Muppet Christmas Carol. So if you guys end up doing that,
Doesn't, so we gotta.
you'll just have to sit on stage and close your eyes and just.
Yeah.
I could be asleep. I could just drift
Yeah.
off and no one would know.
Right? That's the job I want. Jeez.
Oh my gosh. I just want to make a quick note. We talked about how like every Muppet and every human, like they kind of have that moment. And to be honest, that is the biggest challenge for doing these live shows, is because you can have people like double up or triple up on roles, but there comes a point in like almost every Muppet movie where there is a scene and you have to have 15 different Muppets talking to each other. And it gets nuts. So like I never want to have people talking like, this is me now, and then this is also me talk. Like I hate when that happens on live stage stuff, because I feel like if we can, and we're pushing the boundaries every time at Dynasty of how many people we can get onto that stage. And we broke the record at Great Muppet Caper. They told me that I think it was 29 that we got up to.
Happiness Hotel at full capacity.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's funny to be like, I don't want to overload the stage, but at the same time, you have to sometimes for Muppets.
I'll say this too. I feel like where you would double or triple up was mostly with the people who were taking the human all-star cameo roles. That some of those would be like double or triple because those are such specific pop-ins. But it was another thing seeing the script printed out and performed outside of the movie for the first time, where you pull the juice of the celebrity from those scenes. I want to say basically, other than Edgar Bergen, every one of those just works as a comedy bit, regardless of who's delivering it. You know, like sometimes you get into later Muppet stuff where it's like, the joke is it's Whoopi Goldberg, right? And the joke falls apart if it isn't Whoopi Goldberg. And it was that fascinating thing about watching the Steve Martin scene, which I'm like, that's one of the funniest scenes in the history of movies, delivered by like who I think is maybe the funniest person ever at his peak. And you imagine, well, that's going to fall apart if it isn't peak Steve Martin doing it. And you're like, no, there are like actually 1,000 different ways to play that scene that work comedically. Yeah. And so you can just have people come up and play it in a totally off the hump way, but really still find where the comedy is in that scene.
You know who I think of that's like the antithesis of what you just said is Sarah Silverman in The Muppets, in the 2011 Jason Segel Muppet movie, where she could have been an extra. Like if you don't know who Sarah Silverman is, then it's nothing. And like but there's also no joke there. There's no like, ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Silverman. It's just it's nothing. And these early Muppet movies didn't waste that time.
Yeah, I like both of those James Bowman movies a lot, but I feel like that's a big thing that I bumped on, was you feel like it's distracting to have them if they're not going to be there to serve a comedic purpose. You need to actually give them something to do. And those two movies feel like they sometimes get into, this person clearly just wanted to be on set to meet the Muppets.
Well,
which
I am super calling in.
I get it.
Totally.
They're so obviously calling in favors from James Bowman or the Flight of the Conchords guys or whatever. But then the same thing is happening here, where literally Janet, you just said you called Matt to be like, hey, you're doing this thing and I want to do it. But it works, obviously. I mean, look, they're two different, this is apples and oranges.
But I think,
who are we to judge?
I think Matt has really good taste and judgment of how to apply people so they're actually doing something that is working for the show. I also think like that was so much of the magic of the Muppet Show for me is, I mean, watching as a child, that was my introduction to so many of those performers for the first time. But now I watch them with more understanding of who they were. And you're like, that show was giving big stars an opportunity to show off things that they had no other outlet for, you know? I think Henson and Jewel and everybody were really good at like saying like, what's the thing that no one else is going to let Sylvester Stallone do? You know? And so it's not just funny because it's like, oh, it's Stallone next to a puppet. It's like you're sensing the joy of they're getting to do something that's fully in their power. That's a little surprising to see. And I think this type of, show of like doing a live read of a beloved thing and like stunt casting comedy people as like characters we all know and love can become really stunty and gimmicky. And the thing that was so satisfying about, I mean, like truly, I wasn't able to do the Great Muppet Caper one, but the Muppet Movie one, I was like, this is the greatest show I've ever been a part of in any capacity. This is the greatest thing I've ever gotten to do as a performer, just to be a small part of this, and more than anything, like on stage, front row seat, getting to witness it happening. But it was that it actually felt like we were serving both the emotionality and the humor of the script itself, rather than just kind of doing a novelty factor. Look, it's all of us wearing funny costumes and doing voices. And I think that speaks a lot to like Matt very well curating people who really get it and everyone showing up and really committing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like on some level, and Griff, you can disagree with me, Matt, let me know if I'm wrong, but there is a point at which you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that we're all endeavoring to be worthy of sharing the stage with Nina West's Miss Piggy. Like, if I can just earn the right to have been on the same stage, because that's a perfect example of an opportunity where it could just be the visual gag of a fabulous drag queen as Miss Piggy. Like that you could imagine someone saying like, drop any drag queen in there, it'll be so funny and great. But that is not, like, Nina is, it was so, I was like laugh crying, but kind of crying with emotion.
Yeah.
Over how tenderly yet over the top we like Nina in particular. Again, everybody in the cast was phenomenal, but she's this centerpiece, as Miss Piggy would want it to be. But it was so sweet and so genuine while also being insane that I was like very, very moved by it. And I'm basically, I mean, I already love Nina, but I'm sort of in love with Nina now. Like
everyone
I feel like I would like
Nina West.
Yes. I would like sacrifice my own life to save Nina. It's kind of how I feel after doing these shows with her.
Like no joke, you just describing that, Janet, gave me chills. Like goosebumps from like you describing and being like, oh right, that's what it felt like to watch it happen. And in that first show, we're all on stage from the beginning, but Nina was backstage in the full getup and made an entrance, wasn't seated visibly before then at the beginning of the pageant to do the number, and got a standing ovation from the entire crowd and all the performers on stage. And there was that feeling of like pin drop, like, oh my God, I'm witnessing something incredible. And I went up to Nina right after, and I'd known Nina a little bit and done a show with them a couple months earlier, I guess. And I had talked about the Muppets a little bit, obviously knew like, was such a big fan, but I was like, I just want you to know that I recognized that you got every single inflection right. That not only are you like embodying Miss Piggy, but you clearly have watched this 50,000 times. And I know you're not looking for brownie points, but I kept hearing like, oh, the timing's perfect.
Yes.
Went up on that word. Like, this is so, like, I've been waiting to do this my entire life.
Yeah.
And as you said, it really felt like it was done as like a very profound tribute.
So to that point, probably more for you, Griff, do you feel like, because you know the movie so well, all these movies, that these characters are just tattooed on your brain and you are going to end up saying the inflection in the same way that these actors did? Or are you like, no, I got to kind of get past that and put my own spin on it?
I think specifically with my two characters. So we're on this promoting the Manhattan one.
Yeah, we should mention who you're playing.
Playing the Lonnie Price character, of course, the Austin Pendleton of that movie. In both of those cases, I think because they're less iconic to non-hardcore Muppet fanatics like the people on this Zoom, there's less of a sense of like the audience is going to throw tomatoes at you if you're not getting the voice right. I also think this is just a personal challenge for myself, I think. That because they feel like, well, if this movie was being made tomorrow, I would be demanding an audition and trying to get this role for real. I do feel like I kind of try to approach them as like, how would I just play this which ends up being not that far off from how the original guys did it. But I think I'm not trying to mirror specific inflections as much. Although I'm sure if I were to rewatch it, I'd realize like, oh, I did that. It's what you said. It's like tattooed in my brain where Toy Story just got re-released in theaters for the 30th anniversary, and I went to see it in theaters with my girlfriend this weekend. And I had that same kind of thing where I'm like, I could like musically recite this.
Yeah, right.
And the first Muppet movie in particular, I have that with as well. But it's also what's so fun about it is like Nina came out and just did like the most immaculate recreation, done in a way that's like, that wasn't clinical, that was still very emotional, but was like perfect reproduction. And then someone like Mark Evan Jackson, who's such a great performer and innately has this kind of Kermit-y vibe, was not trying to do a Kermit impression and really treated it as if it's like, I am the next actor to take on the role of Macbeth, Like, how do I dramatically interpret this? And him doing that honestly ends up feeling very correctly Kermit, but he wasn't doing the exact same moves. And it's just really exciting to see the harmonizing of that. And also on stage, because we're not rehearsing these things outside of the musical numbers, that feeling of like, oh my God, he's standing up now. He's about to do this scene. How is he going to play it? Is a really, really fun tension. And everyone just like steps up to bat and hits it out of the park.
So I want to get us off topic just for a quick second because Janet, I wanted to ask you. I mentioned at the top of the podcast that you are one of the co-creators of Neil's Puppet Dreams, and this was, for anyone who doesn't remember the show, it was in 2012, 2013. It was produced by the Jim Henson Company, and it was just it was a web series starring Neil Patrick Harris, in which he quote dreams in puppet. So first of all, I mean, you got to work with the Henson Company on this project. So can you talk a little bit about like what that experience was like for you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, when I first moved to LA, possibly even before I actually officially moved to LA, I very quickly found out about Puppet Up, which is nighttime adults. I would say adults only, probably. I don't think I've ever seen any children there.
I don't think they're allowed.
Version of just honestly, like one of the coolest live things I had ever seen and still have ever seen. Because it really is. It's sort of one of those like, what crazy thing of like, what crazy combination of like stuff you care about would like almost not seem to make sense on one stage, but then somehow works completely brilliantly. And the idea of having Jim Henson puppets with puppeteers who also happen to be some of the best improvisers out there, period. And that you would like break the thing that felt so sacred as a younger person and still feels sacred in certain media, of not seeing the puppeteer behind the puppet because the puppet is sacred and the puppet is the character, and how dare you remind me there's a human being under there. That seems like it wouldn't work, at least not for me. And yet, going to see it and seeing characters, and now this is different puppets, so you're not seeing Kermit go blue, but you are definitely seeing Henson. They're very, Henson puppets have a very strong personality and brand, so you are very aware that you are watching Jim Henson puppets say sometimes very shockingly vulgar things. So that's a combination of things that wouldn't necessarily seem like they would work, and yet it's just a phenomenal show, and it's so funny and so charming, and it is so exciting to get to see the puppeteers working and operating on the fly in every way. So I was a massive fan of that show, and just through kind of the comedy community and like working on different shows and stuff over the handful of years that I was there before Neil's Puppet Dreams, and in addition becoming friends with Neil and his husband David, it was a real kind of perfect storm of like Neil and David are also massive Muppet fans, and we had the opportunity to make that happen. And really, like, it's what, those things that you work on, I'm sure we've all had these, there are labors of love that you work on that come difficult. They're hard. They're just like hard to kind of construct, and you deconstruct them and reconstruct them, and you're like, I hate this thing. Wait, I think I love this thing again. This was not that. This was one of the other things where you're like, you kind of do feel like it always was there, and you're just kind of like chipping away the existing marble to get that out of the way so the sculpture's there, or just dusting off the dust from the archaeology site, where it's like, oh, this was always going to happen. And it just felt very effortless, and writing the sketches felt very effortless, and casting it felt very effortless for the same reason. I'm sure that Matt is able to get all these phenomenal people. Like, if you ask Nathan Fillion if he wants to work with the Jim Henson puppets, he's like, what time do you need me there? I'll cancel everything else. So that experience was a dream, and we did shoot on the Henson lot, which of course is the old Charlie Chaplin studio. And when you pull up on La Brea, you're looking. Wait, it's La Brea? Yeah, it's not Highland, right? It's not Highland. Yep. Is it? I always forget. Yeah, yeah. I can't keep Highland and La Brea. I've lived here 20 years. I still can't tell the difference between Highland and La Brea.
I know one street in LA for that reason.
Yeah, well,
so I can say confidently.
I probably would get that wrong too. Yeah, and there's this very iconic Kermit wearing Charlie Chaplin duds with his little hat and cane, and I have never not gotten choked up going onto that lot. It is extremely emotional in the best way, and things are changing with that lot, and hopefully there's going to be a lot that is preserved, but get really going on that set. And by then I'm sure I had met, so weirdly, Brian Henson and Mia Sara are also my neighbors. So that was just, again, this confluence of, this is LA. Like, sometimes there are just people you keep running into, or circles that you would never think you would, and things come at you from different directions, in other words. So anyway, long story long, we had the opportunity to do this, and there was a song. I think the first sketch that we filmed was a song that I had written, and Brian Henson performs in that sketch as one of the puppets, and I was sobbing like the entire time that was shooting. I just couldn't. I was like, it was just one of those experiences where you're like, okay, I can die tomorrow. I mean, it's such a cliche, but truly, like, I still think about that if I'm having like a bad industry day. I'm like, yeah, but oh my God, Brian Henson sang a song you wrote and like puppeteer to puppet, and that just lives there forever, even if no one ever sees it. Like, cool, great, I'm good.
It's all on YouTube, by the way, for anyone who's curious to see the show, because it's fun and it's short, and but I also wanted to make sure I brought this up because obviously the Henson connection, we gotta crack this stuff wide open, but it's genuinely shocking to me that the two of you, being not only incredibly talented performers whose work I love and I know so many people in our community loves, but knowing that you have such a public love of the Muppets, and you are known as people who are like cool to work with and make the same like comedy that's kind of in the same realm, that you haven't worked with the Muppets yet.
And yet, like, we don't like each other. We cannot stand each other.
Vicious rivals.
Vicious rivals.
Because
I don't mean with each other.
Corner.
No,
that's right.
No, with specifically.
Everyone
with the
says I'm the Griffin Newman of the West.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Joe.
No, you're
sorry
good.
About the derail. Sorry.
Please. But like, I want to see the two of you work with the Muppets, and this is something we've like kind of talked to people before on these interviews, where it's just like, God, you're a huge fan. You are probably willing to do anything that they ask because you're such a huge fan.
Yeah.
And like, you're not nobody, you're a name. So like, why aren't they calling you? So my question to both of you is, if you got the call from the Muppets, from the Disney-owned Muppets, Muppet Show family, what do you want to do with them? I know it's a big question.
Yeah, it's a really big question. I'll say this, there was the Sesame Street movie that was set up at Warner Brothers that I think Jonathan Crystal of Portlandia was supposed to direct.
Yep, that's right.
And Hathaway was supposed to be in. And it was truly a thing where that movie felt vaguely cursed, where I auditioned for that film 3 times, I want to say in 3 separate calendar years, because it was going to happen in 2019. And they were like, we film in 8 weeks. And I got the audition and I was like, this is the dream. And they were like, we have like 5 different 1-page roles. that were all kind of what I was talking about, like the human cameos where you're like, this is just a funny scene. It's a New York tour guide having to answer how to get to Sesame Street or whatever it was. Like they were good bits, right? And I did it and I really killed it so hard. And I found out the casting director brought up in the room that she listened to my podcast and was like, and I know how much this means to you. And I was like, oh, great. I don't even need to tell you.
Good,
you get
yeah.
it. You get that I'll do anything, that I will pay to be in this. And I was like, I think they're going to give me one of these roles. And then Anne Hathaway got pregnant and they pushed the movie back to try to wait it out. And when they were about to go again, the pandemic hit. So then they pushed it back again and it was prepped one final time. And then I think the strikes happened. There were truly like 3 force majeures. And all 3 times I got the call to come in and I was like, well, this time I'm gonna get it. But it did, even doing the fake version of that, the audition version of that without the Muppet in the room, I was like, that is what I'd want to do. I'd like to just be the human being who has a funny interaction with them for a moment in a certain way,
Yeah. I like that you chose something that's so like that would actually happen. Like you could have said, I would have a big song and dance number with like the entire, like with 50 Muppets. But you deliberately said something that like I would actually be shocked if that does not happen in your career.
I don't know. I even like, it is weird. That is more my fantasy than like you host an episode of The Muppet Show or whatever, is just to like score like 3 funny line readings off of like a main character,
Sure, yeah.
And by the way, my definition of main character contains like 60 characters.
Does not surprise me.
I would, it could be a 2-line exchange with Louis Kazagger and I'd be happy. But that's my answer, I think.
Great. Janet, do you have an answer on this?
I mean, if we're going hypothetical, I'm gonna go if that's the most likely scenario, if we've just arrived at like the most likely scenario of us on this podcast, let's go with the least likely scenario, which is that I have enough notice, and for some reason it's important to someone there that I be a puppet. I don't need to like be, I'm not going to try to do an impression and like take it because that's just hard. But I took puppeteering lessons from an original Henson puppeteer, because I loved Puppet Up so much. And I really love it. And I got to puppeteer some of the puppets from Neil's Puppet Dreams. It is really hard. It is really hard. Aside from just the reverse, like understanding that you're seeing yourself on camera and you have to do everything backwards, which is like such a mind F for weeks. It's so hard on your body. So I'm going like extreme unlikeliness, which is I have time. They set me up with my dear friend Colleen Smith, who's one of the most talented human beings I know and is a phenomenal Henson puppeteer. And she somehow is able to spend like 8 weeks with me, and we're training and puppeteering every day, and then we go into rehearsals and I get to be some sort of puppet. I would love that. I really would love that.
This is how you know that Jen and I are both actually insane nerds for this, is that neither of our answers were like, it's Muppet Les Mis and I'm the human lead. I did a day player, and Janet's answer was, can I puppeteer a whatnot?
Oh my God. I can just sit and like talk about how you're supposed to throw the words out as you're puppeteering, like all of that stuff is just like, it gets in there. And when you start learning how to puppeteer a Henson puppet, they just give you 2 Kermit. It's essentially Kermit eyes, which is just 2 ping pong balls with eyes painted on them that fit on these 2 fingers. And you're just learning how to do that. And it's like the most fun thing in the world.
Everyone should take a puppetry lesson. Everyone should take an improv lesson and a puppetry lesson.
There you go.
Expand your horizons. No, I love this. I mean, when you first said that you wanted to puppeteer, be a puppet, I think is the way you said it. I assume that you meant
you wanted the Janet Varney puppet.
Yeah, like there's going to be a Janet Varney puppet, which is my dream.
One of those.
Don't
worry about it.
I want to be in this game so long that they're like, hey, I heard Joe's retiring. We got to give him a puppet. We got to make a Joe puppet.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. The Thrilling Adventure Hour members, we have puppets for our kind of principal characters on that show, and that was something that we got in like 2016 maybe.
That was Jamie Bressler that made those, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and that was another like check mark, like, oh, I have a really beautifully made puppet that my dog is so afraid of.
I don't have it here, sadly, but you mentioned the George Lucas talk show earlier, which is this insane, incredibly difficult to describe show I do with Connor Ratliff and Patrick Kottner, where we do a real talk show with real celebrity guests, but we're in character as George Lucas and Watto. And when we were in deep lockdown and doing very long marathon live streams of the show every week, at some point a viewer made puppets of the three of us. And so I have this very bizarre, it's really high quality, but like a Muppet style puppet of me in a bad Watto costume.
Oh, so good.
Layers.
It's not a Star Wars Episode 1 Watto puppet, and it's not a Griffin puppet. It's Griffin as Watto.
It's very
so they
specific.
Like made a Griffin puppet, and then like made bad on the costume and where the zippers are.
That's so lovely.
Does it have the little sequel hat?
That's a good question. I think it doesn't.
Okay.
Well, that's an accessory that you could make.
Yeah, that's
made
an
after
accessory.
the fact.
I could add that.
There could be a
add that.
series of outfits that are made.
I think it has the Watto will alternate between wearing his Attack of the Clones sequel hat and a yarmulke that is bejeweled with the name Watto on the back. And my memory is that it has the yarmulke but not the sequel hat.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You need all the variants in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Griff, speaking of your projects, so you're one of the hosts of the Blank Check podcast. You guys review movies. You go dive into these deep filmographies. Any chance you're going to do Muppets or maybe the Frank Oz movies at some point?
Big time. So we our main feed on the show, we pick a director, we go through their whole career chronologically and try to kind of chart the ups and downs of getting a blank check career in Hollywood. And then our Patreon, we do franchises instead of directors. And so we tend to go towards franchises that don't have one dominant author in that way, or franchises that are like, this director's work is really about this one film series and maybe it isn't worth covering the rest of their stuff. But yeah, so sometimes there's like an excuse like that. For years, I've been pushing my co-host, David Sims, to do the Muppets as a Patreon series and do all the theatrical movies. And we do like a March Madness thing every year where once a year we let people vote in March for Patreon and Made Feed to pick one series. And Muppets was doing really well last year. And in a somewhat controversial move, I kind of tanked the vote. I came out with an anti-endorsement, which is but let me explain why. I was like, I've actually re-strategized, and I don't think this is the best way to do the Muppets on the podcast. I think the best thing to do is to combine Henson and Oz's directing careers and get one series. Because I always was like, well, Henson's only got a couple, and Oz, you only get one canonical Muppet movie, but I'd love to talk about all the Oz comedies.
Sure.
And if you're doing one or the other, it's kind of incomplete. And we're never going to do a James Frawley series to cover the first Muppet movie.
I don't understand why you wouldn't.
Could do a series, right? I was like, you could do a series where you start with that while acknowledging that neither one of them directed it, but that's sort of the beginning of them in movies.
Yes.
And then from there, you're alternating between Henson Oz collab, and then obviously after Henson's passing, it's an Oz series. So I made people swing the vote away from Muppets in the promise that I am very committed to making that happen. So it's not firmly on our schedule yet, but I'm aggressively looking for the slot to fit it in and make this promise to your listeners that it will happen.
Okay, you heard it here,
everybody. As soon as I
everybody.
can make it happen.
We have a promise. Yeah. It's on the record. No, I really hope you do that. I hope you invite me on as your guest. I want to talk about Muppet movies with you.
Absolutely. It is the number one thing now. I'd say the most common question if like I run into listeners on the street, they go like, so is Henson Oz happening? Since I put it out, now people are really invested in like, and you're pushing that through, right? Like it's a bill in Congress that I'm like fighting to You're pushing it through, right?
Great. So you've got your Blank Check podcast. The George Lucas Talk Show documentary is out on DVD right now.
And Blu-ray,
And Blu-ray.
with a record number of special features. Patrick Kottner, our producer, has broken the commentary record. So I think it has like 70 commentary tracks.
That's insane.
There's so many that they couldn't fit them all on the disc. So the disc includes like a flyer with a QR code to access a second website with additional.
So perfect.
It's absolutely incredible.
Perfect.
I know one of the commentaries is Brian J. Jones, who wrote the Jim Henson biography.
Yeah.
And one is
and has been
Craig
on the show.
And one is Craig Shemin and Stephanie DeBruzzo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who also have been guests. Yeah. No, I mean, the Muppets are a big shared passion for Connor, Patrick, and I. It's why someone thought to make Muppets of our characters.
Sure.
But certainly any excuse, anytime we can book anyone who is Muppet, and especially like Henson related, we will do it. And you watch the show kind of dissolve in real time because we all drop our characters and just start asking earnest questions we've always wanted answers to. We had Raleigh Cruson on.
I was there for that one.
Other Muppet people we've had on.
I remember. Right. I mean, I remember being at the Raleigh Cruson one, and like, who knows who Raleigh Cruson is? Like, you know, like that was. I mean, that was such a joy. Right. Exactly. And you know, for it to start with like her basically being like, "So George, you and I worked together on Labyrinth," and like talking as if they actually know each other. And then, like you said, it devolves into, we just have questions about the Muppet Show. We just like what's that like? And like, that's great. That's why I'm here. I don't care that you're George Lucas. I don't care that you're giving away Star Wars merch.
People think the show, understandably, because of what it's called and how you have to pitch it to people, that it's just like in-jokey Star Wars deep cut esoterica. But at this point, like my version of Watto and Connor's version of George have almost become their own things. And the show very often, an entire episode will go by where Star Wars is maybe barely invoked.
Right.
But my favorite thing that can happen on the show is when we get someone who has any history with George Lucas, be it like an actual working history or a meeting once. And the only real thing we say to guests backstage to prep them is the only rule that matters is he is George. Treat him like real George. If you know real George at all, talk to him like he is the guy you know. Connor loves if you throw at him, "Hey, remember when we..."
Yes.
You know, he loves the challenge of that, even of course, if he wasn't there and he doesn't remember having to and that.
Well, I mean, I wanted to have you guys on one of my podcasts where we were going to just basically interview George about Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. I think that would have been a blast. We missed out.
Yeah, he could do it. He could do it. Yeah.
All right. So, what else are you working on right now that you can tell our audience about?
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember if there's anything I can tell the audience about. I know Jan and I are a similar boat where when you do a lot of like VO animation stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It is very hard to keep more. So it's hard to remember like, what have I done and has that come out or not?
Yeah.
But there's some of that stuff that maybe has come out or will come out.
All right. Well, go to Griffin Newman's IMDb page, see what he's out. What's
you know what? I did an episode of there's a new Netflix animated show that I think is premiering early next year called Strip Law, about like a law firm run out of a strip mall.
Nice.
That is really, really funny. And there's an episode where I play a kind of like huckster child pastor that I thought was a lot of fun. So that's coming out. And then on Blank Check, we're doing the Coen brothers right now, which has been good. It turns out they're very good at making movies, and it's fun to talk about those movies. And on our Patreon, we're doing a kind of self-curated franchise of 90s indie comics adaptations. So like The Mask and The Crow.
Great.
Judge Dredd, Barbed Wire, a very weird assemblage of movies. But we're absolutely Spawn.
Great.
Mystery Men is the one other one I'm forgetting.
Tank Girl's in there?
Tank Girl.
Yeah.
Tank Girl's in there.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Janet, what are you working on right now?
Well, I know John Hodgman recently appeared, just to tie it all up with a neat little bow, on Blank Check, and mentioned a podcast that he and I have been doing on the Maximum Fun Network called E Pluribus Motto, where we examine and lightly mock and sometimes heavily mock and sometimes hugely embrace the mottos, flags, and other state symbols that you find in these, for now, United States of America. Will be moving into other territories in the future, but that is available. It's been such a joy and really like a strange and great way to get to know states of the country that you may have like predisposed ideas about, and or places that you love and see from a different perspective, and also find out quickly like no one knows anything about any of the stuff that is actually from their home state. Like people are like, the what now? What's the motto? I've lived there all my life. We have a motto. It's been really, really fun. So that's one thing. And then, yeah, like Griffin, my worst example of that is that I have now recorded a full 2 seasons of a Netflix animated show and nothing has been announced at all. 2 seasons. Don't know when it's coming out. Like it's bonkers.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to whatever that is and spending 2 whole years watching it.
I guess me too.
Matt, we know what you're working on. You're working on the Muppets Take Scripthattan. Can you remind folks where they can get live stream tickets?
Absolutely. And I just want to also tie it up a bow and mention that John Hodgman is in our show.
Whoa!
So if you haven't heard, John Hodgman is there. He's going to be playing Pete, which is such fun casting. I cannot wait to see it. So our show is coming up. It's at the Bell House in Brooklyn on Friday, October 24th. We are sold out for in person, but we are going to have a live stream, which you can find through veeps.com. You can also find it on the Bell House website and on the Dynasty Typewriter website. Dynasty is our home theater, and they're actually going to be the ones coming out to film it at the theater. It's going to be like a really fun production. I'm calling it a Dynabell production because the two theaters have been working together so well, and it's hopefully going to add to more collaboration between the two of them. But it's a really great show. We have so many amazing people. You can check out our previous shows at dynasty.tv for our previous shows. And this show that we're doing is going to be supporting Broadway Cares / Equity Fights AIDS, which is a really great organization that does some really wonderful things for the Broadway community and the community at large. So we're so happy that we're getting to, with all of these shows, I will never do one of these that's not a charity event, that's not giving back to people, because I think it's so important right now. There are so many organizations that need our help, and it's so great to do something so fun, and then also know that at the end of the day, you're raising money for people that really need it.
Wow, well said. Well, thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. Matt, thanks for being here. Janet, Varney, Griffin Newman, thank you both so much for giving back so much to the Muppet fan community. And I can't wait for the show. I think it's going to be a blast.
We can't wait either.
I know. I don't know why I felt like I couldn't say anything.
And goodbye, I guess.